All right. So in this segment, we're going to talk a little bit about organizing your assignments in Google Classroom, using PDFs. That's a big question I always get. What do I do with these PDFs? And then screencasting instructions. And if I think of anything else along the way, we'll talk about that too. Let's look at first organizing assignments. So in the last sessions, we talked about kind of organizing your classwork by topics. And we talked about adding topics. Two popular ways teachers usually organize Google Classroom is one, by their topic is the week of, right? And this is an example of this teacher might just teach just ELA, but you might, an elementary teacher, it might just be week of, right? And then for every day or every time they enter an assignment for that week, they title it with the date, the day, and then what the assignment is. Now, just remember that you don't have to enter something into Google Classroom necessarily every day that has to be turned in. It could just be the material that the students need for that activity. You might even be using that material, in class, face-to-face, but at least for the student that is maybe missing that day or a virtual student, they still have the material in Google Classroom for them to open up and use. Okay, so this is, like I said, an example of where on Monday I pasted in, they had to do a journal entry, and then there's the Google Doc for them to use. The instructions, which mine are kind of weak instructions, but it's time. And then they'll be able to open it up and use that doc for the journal entry. Tuesday, they have shared notes, and so they have a shared slide deck that they're going to be using in class. Again, this isn't necessarily something that's going to be turned in. It's just something they need for class. Reading homework. So tonight you do have a reading homework. Here's the reading. I want you to read it, mark it up with your Cami tool, and so on. Tomorrow on Thursday, we're going to be doing a brain discussion or brain dump discussion. We're using Jamboard. So the Jamboard is here. Again, not something necessarily going to turn in, but it's just the materials quickly here for them to get to and open up and go. And then our Friday assessment and feedback. So essentially there's a quiz in here that they'll take in class. They'll open up their Chromebooks or their device and take their quiz. The other way some people like to organize is by topic and then the week of. Okay, so this is my ELA. So elementary teachers, this might be something more you look at, is having all your topics, and then under the topic is the week of. And under that week of this is the exact same material down here, just in a week format in one assignment. So that student would open up this assignment and know that on Monday, I have to do the journal entry. On Tuesday, we're using the shared notes. On Wednesday, we're doing the homework, reading, Thursday and Friday, and so on. And then the materials they need are here. They're labeled. So this is Monday's journal, Tuesday's shared docs, and they're easily able to keep coming back to this assignment throughout the week to complete the material that's in here. And with the end of the week then, like Friday would be the material that they would turn in as that quiz or feedback assessment that you're asking them to take. Okay, so those are just two examples of how you might organize using the topics. Another way to organize is to think about, again, labeling. How are you going to label these assignments or materials that you're putting in? Some teachers prefer when they make an assignment or a quiz or whatever, anything they put in Google Classroom essentially is numbered. So the very first assignment they create in Google Classroom is going to be number 1. And they will do the assignment and post it. Assignment 2 is number 2, and so on. And so throughout the entire year, every time they create an assignment, they put a number in front of it. So then they know that, obviously for them and the student, they know that this was assignment number 5. Go find them assignment number 5. Okay. So that is one way. Another way is to use, as you've seen, the emojis. Just kind of makes it, fun for students and easy to find things. But again, using the same emoji. So every time, let's use this one. So every time you give a quiz, you're going to use that unhappy emoji. It's probably a bad emoji, but you get the point. So it's essentially a labeling system. So you're always, when there's reading, you're always going to use, the little book emoji. when there's maybe the check mark is better for the quiz, and so on. Okay, so you get the point. So they know then that it's kind of like a key, essentially, like this symbol means this. To use the emojis, you either need to have an emoji keyboard extension added from Google to have that, or mine on a Mac is already built in, and that's just a Control Command Shift. So if your computer has one already built in, great. If not, you're just going to add one from your Google extensions. Okay, let's talk next about using PDFs in Google Classroom. I know this is a big question. A lot of you have materials and things that are saved as PDFs. Number one step is, I always suggest, if you're using Google Drive, start getting those PDFs into your Google Drive, because it's much easier to grab them from Google Drive instead of having to make sure that they're loaded. If you're taking the work home on the computer that you're taking home, or on a flash drive or whatever, if they're in Google Drive, you have them all the time, anywhere, anytime, any place, any device. So if they're in Google Drive, I'm going to show you that first because it is the easiest step. So when I go to create an assignment, okay, I would title my assignment, all the instructions and all that. What you're going to do is you will add from Google Drive. Now, if it is on your computer that you're on right now, you'll be able to add the file and drag it or grab it from that file on your computer. We're going to do Google Drive right now, and it's going to open up your Google Drive. You'll be able to, if it's something you just recently pulled up, you're going to be able to pull that up here. It'll show up right away. If not, you'll just have to go to your drive and find the folder that you know it is in. So let's say I go to this folder, and then I know that PDF is down here in my folder. So once I grab that, I will hit insert, and there's the PDF. Remember that you always have the option to, students can just view the file. So if you just wanted them to read this and that was it, you would click here. A PDF they can't necessarily edit unless they're using something like Cami. They'll still be able to edit if they're viewing file in Cami. But if you want each student to have their own copy of this PDF, which I suggest you always do if it's something that you're not doing collaboratively. So you'll just make a copy of it and then assign it. Okay, if you're going to be pulling a PDF that is coming from a website that is not currently saved on your device, there might be a few steps you have to go through, and this is just one example. But what you're going to do is you're going to pull up that PDF. So this is just an example of a math assessment from Engage New York. You have a few options. Okay, I can, right from here on this PDF, I can download it. So download the entire PDF. Okay. Some teachers, though, sometimes in these documents only need one page. So to do that, you're going to need to go to print. And then over here under pages, you are going to customize and tell what page you want printed. So it could be 1, 2, and 3, or it's just page 1. I'll hit save. Whoops, no, I won't, sorry. I don't need to hit save. From here, your destination is going to be save as PDF. Okay, so now it's not going to print it, it's just going to save it. If your computer is hooked up to a printer, you might see the printer there. I have the save to Google Drive option as well, but we'll have to switch it over to save as PDF. And I'll hit save. It's going to ask me where I would like it to go. I'm just going to put it on my desktop for right now. If you can save it in Google Drive, that is another great option, but I'm just going to put it on my desktop for right now. It's easier to find for me that way. So then when I go back to my classroom, now this is where I need to do that file upload. And I need to go to upload. I'm not going to Drive. I'm going to go to upload. And I'm going to go to browse. Desktop is where I saved it, and grab that PDF from here. So one thing we need to remember to do, you're going to see this PDF is named kind of something that's really hard to distinguish what it is. So I'm going to X out of this. And where I can kind of made that mistake essentially is when I did go in to save it, and I saved as PDF. And when it asked me what I wanted to save it as, I have the chance right here to change that. So I might say Monday's assignment or whatever. And then when I save it and it's saved as the download, then when I go to Google Classroom and I add my file and I go to upload and I go to browse, I then see it named correctly. So when it goes in, now it's named something specific to my instructions. We're going to talk a little bit later in another segment about how to make PDFs so that students can write or type on them. We're going to talk about that in just a little bit, so hold tight. The last piece I want to talk to you about is screencasting for instructions. So some teachers find it really easy, much easier to just record a screencast on what their instructions for the week or the day are. I'm going to open up, save this assignment, and I'm going to actually go in and edit this assignment because I'm going to add a screencast. Okay. So what you might, because I want to add the link here. So as the teacher, I might use something like Screencastify or Loom or whatever screencasting tool you're going to use. And for my students, I will record a screencast for them. And what's kind of nice is now I have the written instructions, okay, but now I can leave them a screencast to say, guys, remember on Monday, we're going to do that journal entry. So you're going to want to make sure, actually, the students would be viewed like this. You're going to make sure that you click on that journal entry and right, you turn that in. Tuesday, we're going to be using this in class, so no worries. This is for our in-class work. And essentially, you can be giving them some instruction, right? You can even be writing on here to circle things, point out things. Remember, we're going to click here, right? And doing this for them. Once you're done, you click stop sharing. Remember, you get that shareable link. So I can copy that shareable link, and then in my instructions, where I wanted to go when I was going to edit this, is then down here, right? I can put a link to that video, so then they know that they can watch the instructions as well. So a great opportunity for you to verbalize the instructions, be maybe a little more specific. Maybe your written instructions are a little less detailed, but the video has more detail for them, so they get used to watching those. So now as the student, this is a student account, I go in, I see my notes or the instructions, but then I have this link. I'm able to open that and watch that instructional video from my teacher. All right, so hopefully some of those tips were helpful. Please, if you have other questions or thoughts or, how-tos, please email me, and I can make a video to add to this section as well. So reach out if you have any other questions.